Charles, you are the wind beneath my wings.
Oh, thank you, darling.
Thank you. I am not the technical one here.
I know.
I freely admit that. You know, we come up with these ideas and you make them happen. Like, how did this come about?
Believe it or not, it's all because of Anchor. Anchor has the tools. It lets me record, edit, and distribute right from the computer. Sometimes I do it from my phone. It's just as easy either way.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're on like dozens of platforms, though.
It's true. Anchor makes it easy to distribute our podcast on platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcast, and dozens more. It's everything we need, and it's all in one place. And you'll love this part. It's all completely free.
Oh, thank God.
Right. I use Anchor for pretty much every aspect of getting our show out there and into the listeners' ears.
That's amazing.
It is. And if you, dear listeners, want to get into the podcasting game, you just need to download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Maybe Anchor's the wind beneath my wings.
Hey!
Coming to you from the dining room table at East Barbary Lane, welcome to another episode of Full Circle, the podcast. A weekly visit to our home where we squeeze a few headlines through our decidedly queer lens and see what happens. This episode is brought to you by Decanted Jug Wine and the perpetual trans exhaustion that is the American Republican Party.
I am your host, Charles Tyson Jr.
And I'm your host, Martha Madrigal. Welcome to the Full Circle table.
In this week's episode, we talk about a tiny bit of Schadenfreude.
Lowest opening weekend on the entire Harry Potter franchise for Fantastic Beasts.
I mean, it's not just because people are sick of her transphobic nonsense, but a good chunk of it was because people are tired of her transphobic nonsense.
Good.
Playwrights needing to check themselves. But yeah, he went on Fox News and he's and I take personal offense at this, expanding identities. Like, I am a cisgender male, but I frequently haven't really related to all the things that are involved with quote unquote being a man. Our assessment of Russian Doll Season 2.
I took myself to the shower.
You did?
I did. I had to. I did. Literally, I did. Yeah, I was like, I need a shower. I need a shower.
Whew. And more. Hey.
Hey.
How you doing?
First of all, it feels like it's been 100 years since we just sat down to do this because we skipped a week.
I know.
Like we've been recording. We've been doing things.
Right.
But not this.
Right.
So I feel rusty.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, we're just going to sit
been
and have a little chitty chat.
Yeah, that's what this is. This is a chitty chat. We I haven't even looked at our notes for this week, which were started as our notes for last week. So the wonderful thing that happened was we did interview Allison Church, and that interview went live, and that is also a video interview. It's available on our YouTube channel. And then we sat down with Bruce Valanche.
We did.
That'll come out a couple days after this one, maybe Thursday or Friday. We'll put that out.
Yes, later in the week.
My only tiny regret is that it is an audio interview and not video. We could see each other, but we didn't record. Or we could see him, actually. I don't think he could see it. We had video issues.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's just say that. We had video issues, but
we were just a black box for whatever reason.
It was so much, and I was so nervous.
I know you were.
I was so nervous. I don't know how to properly categorize talking with someone who is, for me, a legend. And, he's one of the people behind the people. He is certainly famous in his own right, but he has written comedy. He has made a lot of funny people funny for many years. And my favorite, the women who I just admired and cherished and laughed with and took, solace from, Bette Midler for one.
Oh, yeah.
And we got to talk about the Sophie Tucker jokes. And we got to talk about, his career and all the divas he has worked with. So,
and they're legion.
They're legion. They are legion. And he is, he's been gay for so goddamn long. He never had to come out.
Right.
He just was. He just showed up. Before coming out was a thing. And it was really, truly an honor. It's an interview I'm just thrilled to have done. I hope that, it's coherent, because my adrenaline was pumping the entire time.
You were.
I was shaking. Because I just admire him so much. So, fangirl. It's a fangirl interview. That's just listen to it knowing that is what it is.
I understand. I was impressed with how calm I was, frankly.
I know you were. Well, you kind of, you were like, you do the bulk of that shit. You're older. You remember this. I remember variety shows in real time. I remember he wrote for Sonny and Cher. He wrote for Donnie and Marie.
Right.
He's written for Carol Burnett. Yeah. Like all the variety shows of my childhood. We didn't get to Tony Orlando and Dawn. We did mention Lola Falana. I think he was peripherally involved in her. I think she had a summer show. So anyway, it was a really fun interview. We will release that next week. We did the interview on 420.
That was his idea.
That was his idea, and a good idea it was. That was fun.
It's true.
We had Easter. That happened.
We did. I was a bunny wrangler.
You were. So we got to participate in the Easter Promenade. I kept saying promenade, but I think they call it a promenade. Anyway, the Easter thing that happens on South Street in Philadelphia, I think this was the 89th year that it's happened. So it's a tradition. And you got to choreograph. Well,
not choreograph.
You got to gather together some bunny hoppers.
Yes.
And we put them in bunny costumes, and that was fun.
Yeah.
That was fun. So there was a drum line.
Bunny hop their little selves down South Street.
Yeah, they did to the stage. It's a thing I've never done.
Me either.
So I have ticked off one more thing on the queer bucket list.
You had to write that one on the bucket list first before you could take it off.
I know. And it's not an exclusively queer event by any means. It's just run and brought to us by two queer icons in the Philadelphia community, Henry David and Franny Price. And, which is how we got involved. Franny's a dear friend. And she said, can Charles get me some bunny hoppers? Because we haven't had it in 2 years.
Right.
That we took the 2-year pause for the pandemic. But it was fun. It was a beautiful day.
It was.
The folks come out for this. They dressed their dogs. They dressed themselves. They dressed their children. It was really festive. It made me, not hate Easter.
And while it might not have been
good.
An exclusively queer event, the queer contingent was in attendance.
Well, honey. Yeah.
Goodness.
It was a very inclusive event.
Some of the outfits were dripping with the fabulousness.
I wore a giant hot pink sweaty, so I look like an Easter egg.
You were adorable.
Thank you. I had my I had my sun hat, which doubled as an Easter bonnet. I put a little pink polka dot ribbon on it, and that was that. It was fun.
I wore a Golden Girls t-shirt. It had multiple colors. That was my Easter.
Yeah, you did. It's a cool little tradition that I'm glad survived the pandemic and came back, and it was really thrilling to be a part of it, and bring some of our dancer friends. Well, dancer friends.
Yeah.
To be involved, and they will not forget that day.
No, they will not.
Yeah. I put on a bunny costume and went down South Street, and then we had dinner with family and. Yeah. So we survived Easter.
We did.
We survived Easter. That's
Hallelujah.
what else can be said. Some folks have a really hard time with holidays. Ours was pretty fun and pretty uneventful and tiring by the time we got home.
This is true.
I don't remember. Is that when we started watching Russian Doll? We'll talk about that at the end.
Yes, Lord. No,
God, that's time I'm never going to get back.
Came across that a little while later.
Ugh. So, and this past weekend, was also about celebrating queer icons.
Yes.
Gosha DeGuano, who she told folks that I was her best friend. And it was not a term I had ever like thought to use, but I guess she was. I think we were that. We were very, very close. And Gersha was a piano player in Philadelphia for many, many years. The entire time that she was alive, that we owned a bar, she was there every Thursday night with us. She performed all over the world. She performed in the governor's mansion, the mayor's holiday parties when Ed Rendell was mayor for 8 years, and then in the governor's mansion once he was the governor of Pennsylvania. So they had an album release party. Her brother has put together a CD of a lot of her music that previously unrecorded or unreleased, I guess. It's been remastered. It's really quite good.
It is good.
And the party was at Tavern on Camac, which is where she played, for the last 15 years or so. So that was fun. We went to that on Saturday night. And then we went to Knock and saw our friend John Flynn on the piano, and we both sang a little bit. And so it was like a night out in Philly. And then the Delaware Valley Legacy Fund had their annual Heroes Brunch, where they award different folks. And my pal, Elizabeth Coffey Williams, got the 2022 Lifetime Legacy Hero Award. And I got to, you were busy, you had to work.
Yeah.
But I got to go and have brunch and see her get the award. And one of our dear ones from Transway was able to announce the award and talk about Elizabeth and her lifetime. It was really a cool event. I'm so glad I got to do it. We'll put some pictures up
on the Instagram.
We'll put some pictures up. I don't know about the Twitter these days, because I hear, I don't know, there's a kerfuffle.
Everyone's freaking out because Elon Musk
decided to buy Twitter. Yeah,
right.
Tax the motherfucker so he can't just buy Twitter because he gets pissed off. Maybe that.
My whole thing is everyone's like, I'm leaving Twitter.
Well, then leave.
But, there was another overprivileged multi-millionaire that owned it before that no one had a problem with. So, because this one's name, it's a problem.
Tax them. Eat the rich. Just eat the rich. Jesus Christ. Enough already. Yeah, so we've had, we took the little break for Easter. We did not record on Easter Sunday. Today is Monday, so we skipped yesterday too because we had so many cool things to do. And here we are. So we will get this episode out on time.
Damn it.
I have no fucking clue what we're even talking about. But we keep a list, so we'll go to the list. Did anything else happen? Was there anything else other than, the general nonsense that I'm sure is on the list?
No, we had...
we have picked up listeners in some new countries. That's really fun.
Yeah, we in France now. My pinky just went up. France and the Philippines and Puerto Rico. Oh,
Japan. Hey,
yeah.
Tuscany we've been in Tuscany.
Yeah.
Since we started recording. So whoever you are, we love you.
I also we have
give a shout out.
We have listeners all over the states. Like, I want to give a shout out to our listeners in Sheboygan.
Yeah. Because you like saying Sheboygan mostly.
That's
you don't even know where Sheboygan is, do you? What state's it in? We weren't making fun of you, but you really love saying Sheboygan.
I do love saying Sheboygan. Wisconsin, I was right.
It is Wisconsin. Okay, so Sheboygan, Wisconsin, you. And what is our email address? So if anyone wants to say hey,
you go to askfullcirclepod@gmail.com.
And please, email us and let us know. We've got a couple of financial supporters out there, and we thank you so much because the dog is on really expensive food, and, we give a lot of time to this. So.
Yes, thank you for everyone that
thank
supports
you for
us.
Every dollar that comes in. We desperately appreciate you.
And we're gathering some 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. If you keep them coming, we'll read them aloud on the show because we want to give love back to those who give love to us.
Yes, we appreciate that so much. I don't know. Where was I? I was going somewhere.
There is some good news.
Is there?
Yes.
Oh, good. You want to get that started?
Well, this is crazy that it's like current events, but a judge has ruled that the U.S. military can't discharge troops that are HIV positive.
I thought that they could. Well, I'm surprised that they could, but probably not surprised that they could.
It's 2022.
Oh my God. How do we have to? Untransmittable is undetectable is untransmittable if you are taking care of the virus, and your viral loads are 0. You cannot in any way transmit. What is the problem? We're down to like a pill a day, aren't we? I mean, the protocol is simple. We have so many friends, thankfully, who just live very full lives. Mm-hmm. It isn't what it used to be. And
right.
I'm sorry that even had to happen, but good.
Right. That
we made the distinction. And you can proudly serve in the military as trans. We're not playing games with that right now.
Right. I mean, and tandem with that, April 11th was National Youth AIDS Awareness Day.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it was one of those things I came across the date and I was like, I'm going to put that on the calendar because I want to know when that is.
Okay. And now it is.
Yes.
Now it is. What's going on with Netflix?
So there's two things that
you put it under good news. Like, is this Schadenfreude or what is that?
It might be a little Schadenfreude.
Okay.
Netflix is canceling all kinds of shows because they're like hemorrhaging subscribers.
Oh. and they've raised their prices and everything, and they still don't get the exclusivity of their content or something.
I know, it's crazy. It's like they keep, putting all the unfunny comics and all the transphobic content, and it's just not working.
They elevated what's his name, and they're losing subscribers. You're kidding.
Yeah, they raised the price not once but twice. I almost forgot how much we were paying for that shit.
Well, after watching Russian Doll, if you decide to cancel, I'm okay. I'm with you. I'm with you.
But yeah,
and I'm so upset about that because Natasha Leone, right?
Yes,
love her, and yet
we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. Ugh.
But
that was exhausting. I'm exhausted. We watched the rest of it last night, and I just sat there.
Why don't we talk about it now then?
I will never get that time back. Yeah, but I'm just saying. I think it set my mood for today. I had to go for a drive. Like that's how. Like I just had to go for a drive. I think just because a lot of good things have happened, a lot of challenging things have happened, and Jesus Christ. And then that was just a waste of my time, and I hate wasting my time.
You were like visibly angry.
Yeah. But speaking of Schadenfreude, that JK person.
Yeah.
Lowest opening weekend of the entire Harry Potter franchise for Fantastic Beasts. What do you know about that?
Yeah. And because apparently, I mean, it's not just because people are sick of her transphobic nonsense, but a good chunk of it was because people are tired of her transphobic nonsense.
Good, because you know what? Punch up, not down.
Right. And she just keeps on like the people that benefit from her property, Daniel Radcliffe, amongst other stars from the franchises, are like, lady, sit down and shut up.
Right. Go count your money. Stop it already. Count your money. And you can afford really good therapy, like on demand at your house. Just do that. Really, you'll be okay. We're not after you in any way.
Never have been. But yeah, and apparently like there's other things like controversies surrounding a few of the actors that have been public, and just JK didn't make as much. Aw. Now what does she complain about?
Oh, please. Yeah, she can never make another dime. And she's okay.
Yeah, really.
She's going to be okay. So, I guess if you're going to turn into a raging turf, make sure you make hundreds of millions of dollars or billions of dollars or whatever she's made. And then, be you, I guess. I guess.
Girl, just be you.
This week, for release next week, we're going to sit down with Amber Lynn Boyder. Amber Lynn is the vice president of the local Spartanburg, South Carolina chapter of PFLAG.
Yes.
She is another pandemic trans baby, like myself. She transitioned in 2001.
Yup, popping up all over.
She and her wife are going to join us for an interview and just talk to us about being on the ground in a red state and what, this various legislation means and feels like, and what she's hearing on the ground. Because I don't ever, as we sit up here up north, I don't want us to come across as not caring. I don't want us to come across as not understanding that there are absolutely real people in these states being horribly affected, at least emotionally affected, even when things, are shut down. And it feels like a big game of whack-a-mole, which is what I keep calling it. So Amberlynn is going to be our guest. She is joining us with her wife, and we're going to sit down and talk about what it feels like in South Carolina. So that'll get released next week. And again, anyone listening, if you are joining us from a red state and you're on the ground doing the work, I want to talk to you. I would love to hear what you're going through, hear what it looks like. Amberlynn is one of the people who have testified in the state legislature, and, we are everywhere across this country. So as we're playing this game with the Republicans, we would love to sit down and talk. I'm really proud of the interview that we did with Allison Church. And, she put it on her author page, and it was great. And I know she's going to come back when her new book comes out, and we'll talk to her some more. But I'm so here for these conversations.
Oh, yeah.
And I love talking to the folks around the country doing the work, because it's a little bit easier here. Now, Philadelphia, we only recently moved to New Jersey, where I grew up, but Philadelphia, where so many of our friends are, Pennsylvania is trying this bullshit too in their Republican state legislature. So, our dear friends there, somewhat protected by city laws, are sweating this. Yeah. And it is truly exhausting. So, it comes close. It can come even closer. It's happening across the nation. And we want to talk to anyone who would love to talk to us. But next week it will be Amberlynn Boyder. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
So moving on, we are introducing a segment called the 15-Minute Fave. Why don't you tell me what that is?
So I've been doing this 15-minute faves thing for a few years now. Basically what it is a song will come through the ether towards me. Usually it's a new song, but it doesn't have to be. And oh my God, it is my favoriteest song on the planet for the next 15 minutes.
Okay. All right. Well, that explains that.
I mean, it's relative. Like Adele's Send My Love to Your New Lover was my 15-minute fave for like 3 months. But
right.
but I put together a playlist, and I will share the playlist in our Linktree, because it's composed of all these songs that are on this playlist are songs that at one point or another were my favorite song on the entire planet. And
fun.
I'm introducing the segment here for the first time with one of Gosha's tracks that we heard at the release party.
Okay.
It's just funky and good, and it just makes me think of like the best of 80s dance music with a tiny bit of Depeche Mode tossed in for good measure. It's just fun and it's funky. It's called Words by Gosha and Tao. So you should check it out.
And we're going to provide the link for that.
Yes, we're going to provide the link, and it's currently the link where you can go to purchase it, because right now this is an exclusive. It's not even out like that.
Found myself writing down a message from me to you. Found I didn't really have a message to pull me through. So I woke up and tore me up a letter, threw it away. I guess I'll have to get to you a message some other way. Words
I love Gosha. You know, different people knew her at different stages, and the music shared on this new release was the music of an earlier time in her life. She was a prolific songwriter. There was a lot of original stuff she did with a full band, well before what she became known for was playing in a queer piano bar. That was really what she got. You know, she gigged. That's what fed her. That's what paid her rent. And she had this amazing talent. And if you have ever frequented a piano bar, like now that there are iPads, it's a little bit different. But the old school piano players would show up with like a rolly cart of books of music. So that as people would request music, they'd pull out the different books and the different show tunes and to be able to play because they sight read.
Apparently some people still do that.
And yes, the piano player. Anyway, yes, some still do that. But Gosha would show up with a Dunkin' Donuts coffee in one hand and her car keys in the other, set them down on the piano and start playing. Everything was in her head. She either had it or she didn't.
Right.
And, you know, she would find it. And she had a particular talent for finding your key.
That's my favorite part.
So she would make you sound the best you possibly could if you could sound good at all.
Right.
Because she'd say, give me a little.
Right.
And she would make you sing a bar in her ear.
Yep.
Until she went, and then she would adjust the key to every song she played if she had to kind of give you the best experience. And she was one of the best accompanists in the world as far as I'm concerned. She was amazing and her talent was amazing. And that's what most folks who knew her in the last 15 or 20 years of her life knew about her. But well before that, prolific songwriter, so much more to be released and known, and her brother Frank is on the job, and I'm excited by that too because it's a great project and her work should be heard.
I agree.
Yeah. So
I feel so confident now. I can walk up to a piano player or an accompanist and go, this song I do it in the key of G. Or I do this one in the key of C, and I would not have known that if it was not for Gosha.
Right, because she could tell you. She would tell you what key you sing it in.
Right.
And because if I remember saying something about, I do it in original key, don't I? She went, no. No, sweetheart, no. I'm like, okay, what key do I? And she would tell, she could tell me, but it was like, no, you don't. No, you don't. And then the one time, there was more than one time, as I have heard her do it with other people, and she did it more than once with me, where I would try to give her a little, and she would say, that's not a key. Sit down. Maybe think about another song. But I loved her for that too. I loved her for that. She was a lot of fun. I miss her every day. And so this is exciting that she has new work out. I am really happy that one of her songs introduces the 15-minute fave. On that note, we're going to take a break and come back with the Cavalcade of Nonsense.
Yes, Lord. We'll be back. Let's talk about Newsley. Newsley is an audio app for iOS and Android. It picks up web articles about the most trending topics on the web at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice. For the first time in the history of the internet, the entire web becomes listenable. Browse articles from topics you choose and start playing. Stop scrolling, start listening. You can literally follow any topic as specific as you like, from sports, science, to Bitcoin, the latest in queer news, or even the Kardashians. It will find you the latest articles and read them to you aloud. And they have podcasts as well, including ours, Full Circle the Podcast with Charles Tyson Jr. and Martha Madrigal. Explore trending podcasts from over 50 countries. I started using it as my default podcast app, and it's pretty cool. Download and use Newsley for free today from www.newsley.me, or follow the link we posted in the description of this episode and use promo code FULLCIRCLE with the numeral 1 replacing the I. That's Full Circle to receive a free 1-month premium subscription.
And we are back.
We are back.
Fucking Kentucky. So the governor of Kentucky vetoed the trans sports bullshit ban. Or I'm sorry, he vetoed it. And then the legislature overrode his veto. And I want to highlight this story because this is typical of what is happening. There is one trans child in the entire fucking state of Kentucky who actually plays team sports. Her sport is field hockey. She decided she'd like to play field hockey. There had not been a team. She recruited all of the other young women who were on the team. So we could argue this child is very pro girls sports. She created the team. She recruited the members. She's the only child that will not be allowed to play with her team. One child. These fools are breaking their backs, spending taxpayer money to fuck with one child. And that is true. That is true. So for her in her 8th grade year, she won't be able to play with the team. On the team, she built, and this is Kentucky's SB 93, banning transgender girls from participating in school sports. This is such a ridiculous game, and they're running, I guess, like, you know, we've talked about it ad nauseum. It upsets me. I know how much it upsets the younger trans folks out there, and that's why I really do want to talk to and hear from the folks that are fighting this nonsense. And, you know, that is the thing we can do is just bring it to the fore and talk about it and talk about how absurd it all is. Yes, it's happening. It's actually not constitutional. However, we do live in a world where we don't know what the Supreme Court is going to bend themselves over backward twice to allow.
Right.
Because of what these jackals have done to our Supreme Court. It's all frightening. It's all also ludicrous. And I can only point to how ludicrous it is. All is not lost. The ACLU is certainly on the ground. There are other organizations on the ground fighting this especially on behalf of this child. But, you know, this shit is happening. And in Kentucky, this is one child. We are fucking with an entire state legislature against one little trans girl who built a team so she could play with her friends.
Right.
And this is what we need to legislate. And then we do it under the guise of parents' rights. But the parents of trans children, fuck them. They have no fucking rights.
Right.
Because they're not doing it right or something. And, you know, we had better stop losing our minds over this nonsense. And just like the gays are being reminded that they're included in this hateful nonsense when they start with the don't say gay nonsense, just like they're being reminded, it can happen to any of us, any of us that they deem a minority for whatever reason. And it doesn't have to have a basis in reality. This shit has no basis in reality.
Right. And if they would spend this time, effort, and money into something positive, can you imagine where we'd be?
Well, they won't, because this is their game. They don't have anything to add to the national conversation. When all you do is, you know, lick the balls of your rich overlords who give you your living and who line your pockets, when that's all you do in life and you can call it values,
right?
There's not much incentive to stop as long as you keep getting rich and as long as there are these people who will support this. And, you know, God help us. God help us. Here in New Jersey, you know, I'm celebrating. And, you know, I put this in here to give myself a kick in the ass because I really want to know these people better. We are recent transplants to New Jersey, my home state. I really want to know the people. I want to bring them on the podcast to talk about the law in New Jersey and how we can help support it. Because in New Jersey, it's law that we teach LGBTQ history K through 12. That's our law. And I want to keep that law. And there are jackals and asshats who are saying it's a bridge too far. This is not okay. There is some, where's the link? I think, here it is. Fuck this guy who is calling the New Jersey law sexualizing children. We're not the ones sexualizing children. This is not about sex.
That
orientation and gender identity are not about sex. You all keep making it about sex. You all keep fixating on genitals. We are not. We are not at all. We are fixating on people being. So this is New Jersey 101.5. Apparently, this person is involved with them. It looks like he might be a DJ. This person was using that platform to gather to, here it is. Here it is. Okay. Join the fight against New Jersey schools sexualizing grade school kids. That's what this says. Mm-hmm. It's getting national attention. There was an article in the New York Post. There's a rag.
Right.
No one is sexualizing grade school curriculum. No one is doing that.
Right.
But these people are trying to say that, and they have a Save Jersey website. Mm-hmm. This is such right-wing bullshit propaganda.
Tell me that you know nothing about the conversation being had without saying you know nothing about the conversation being had.
Yeah. Anyway, the point to this, why can't I find the person's name who's doing it? It's New Jersey 101.5. That's where it came from. That's who. Bill Spadea, Spadea. This is an article from April 11th. Whoever the fuck this jackass is. It's an opinion piece, but again, it was published on New Jersey 101.5 about how, this is just a bridge too far. Fuck that. No, it isn't. And you know what? Martha Madrigal is going to be on the job and raising my voice.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I can't figure out the shit that's in that nonsense, but fuck them for even publishing it. And so we're going to try to do more. And, I mentioned it however many weeks ago, and there's just been so much going on that I haven't circled back because I figure it's a good thing, but it's a good thing I want to keep because New Jersey and California are the only two states to say, yeah, we actually have to talk about this. So I want to keep talking about it, and I want to sort out that we are not sexualizing. What we are doing is teaching kids that there's not only one way to be in this world. We are telling kids that, and we're it's a life-saving measure for queer and trans children because there are people like them. There always have been. There always will be, and they do really cool shit because we're fucking magic. So we have throughout history been there. And we have been persecuted, and we have been tortured, and we have still made history because that's how our incredible minds work. And, teaching children that we exist and we are a fact, that is what scares the hell out of them. But they are the ones sexualizing. They are the children's genital fetishists, not us, them. They're the ones doing this nonsense. And they think somehow, and they're back to using phrases like grooming. They're back to using these phrases like indoctrination. And it's like, you are the indoctrinators. You are the ones who do this. And here's a clue, friend. If my parents, in all of their heteronormativity, could not make me straight, I promise you we can't make your kid gay. Unless your kid's gay.
Right.
We can't make a kid trans unless your kid happens to be trans.
Right.
And if we frighten you that much, pick up a goddamn book. But stop picking them up to throw them into a fire because you're ridiculous. And we're going to be here no matter what.
Right.
We are.
Because if outside influences had that much power, I spent my entire life watching heterosexual sexuality on television with the soaps and the movies and the TV shows. Like I would
everywhere.
I would be straight and white. if what I saw on television had that much power over who I am.
You are neither of those things.
Exactly. And am never going to be either of those things because it doesn't fucking work that way.
It doesn't work that way, and it never has. And that's why all of this is like, I cannot believe we're doing it in 2022, and yet I can. But, the other side of that is we have had a whole lot of people who during that great pause came out as trans.
Yeah.
Not because they're deluded, because they've always been that. They've known they were always that. And they went, you know what? Am I going to spend my entire life denying this? Or am I going to embrace who they are? And I'm there for them. I'm there with them, but I'm also there for them.
Right.
I will magnify their voices. We're going to use this platform, small as it is, whatever it grows into, to make sure that our people have a voice. And you're just going to hear like regular conversation here. You're going to find out that we're just people. We're people who know a lot of shit because we're forced to. And there's a lot of love in this community. And there's a lot of working together in this community. Imperfect as we all are too. There is a lot of that, and it exists. And it exists while these jackals are doing this nonsense and getting away with it right now. So, it's time for voices to get louder while we still have a democracy, people. So where are we going? I mean, there was a Missouri teacher fired over a worksheet. What's that about? CRT. Of course it's about CRT. And, I've read a brilliant piece, by the way, that connected this bullshit over CRT with the all of the protests that happened after George Floyd was murdered, all the stuff in 2020 that, there were a large number of white people who took to the streets with Black Lives Matter to say this is not okay. And they kept taking to the streets because they had the time.
Yep.
And it scared the fuck out of these people. And then they came up with the CRT thing. They came up with a catchphrase that isn't real in any kind. Now they just don't want history taught. Now they just don't want us to talk about the way Black people have been treated in America. Okay. Okay. You think that's like what? I don't know what the end game is. I don't know what their end game is other than complete fascism. Other than that. So
it's getting very 1984 out this bitch.
It's getting very 1954.
Yeah.
So what was that about? He was fired over a worksheet?
Yeah, the teacher was teaching for the second year about a book called Dear Martin, which is about a high school student named Justice McAllister who lives in Atlanta and attends a predominantly white prep high school on a scholarship. And at one point, the kid Justice is thrown to the ground and handcuffed by a white police officer. And the book goes into like how he deals with the outcome of that, and like mentally and the emotions of people that saw it and himself. And so the teacher hands out a 15-question word sheet to go along with the lesson called How Racially Privileged Are You? And after the teacher gave out the worksheets, she was asked to meet with the school's principal, who told her there'd been complaints from parents.
Wow. Yeah, of course. And of course, we never named the parents.
Of course not. And it's always like, what are the complaints?
It's because there usually aren't parents, and it's usually taken out of context. That's what I'm trying to say.
It's insane. It's like we don't want our kids to learn about other things other than the things that we already know not to be true. Like, they want us to keep with the whole like Columbus discovered America, you know?
He did not.
Exactly.
He did not.
And how racism ended with Martin Luther King. It began with slavery and ended with Martin Luther King. That's you know.
Well, Bruce Valanche said something very interesting, and he said the election of Barack Obama broke them.
Oh yeah,
broke them.
Oh yeah, racism.
And I don't think he's wrong.
Racism was over with Martin Luther King. Yeah, it was really, really over when we elected Barack Obama.
This bullshit started rolling downhill with St. Reagan. Really did. The Republicans looked around, realized how they were dying at a clip, and the extreme right, the religious right that they had always kept at bay as crazy because they are, and kept out of politics, they said, well, we're going to need them if we're ever going to win anything again. And they embraced them. And that's where it started to get ugly. And then the fact that a black man was president broke them.
Yeah.
Broke them. And they definitely have plans, but they're not plans for the majority of us. And we are individual minorities, but we really need to see the bigger picture and start to stop othering ourselves. Because if we all stood together, if everyone who is made a minority in this country right now said, you know what, enough. Because right now trans people are the target. But we are a moving target. It's whatever sells. Yep. Immigrants were selling for a while. That'll be back. Illegal people, the undocumented, that will be back. Yep. Gays, that'll be back. Any othering that we can do. Like, don't think you're done. Jews come up every now and again still.
Oh, with all the attacks on abortion rights, women ain't never left the spotlight.
Women have been in the crosshairs. And the women that join that fight and call themselves pro-life aren't. And, God knows when they can find one to join them. When they can find a Candace Owens or a Caitlyn Jenner, to jump into their fight and agree with them. God knows. First of all, there's good money in it. There's real good money in it.
Oh, hell yeah. And
they can say, see, it's not us. We're just right. No, you're not. You're still not. Still not right. And, rich Republicans are going to keep getting abortions every day, all day, when they need one. When they decide they need one. That's because that's how that works.
They'll just have their doctor friend come to the back door.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever's needed. They get them. They've never stopped getting them. Y'all just want to be pawns. And I know a lot of good people in that fight who really, they have just jumped on the bandwagon and say, no, I'm just pro-life. Well, no, you're not. And if you want to be pro-life, let's be pro-life. Let's make sure we have sex education, accurate sex education early enough to make a difference, because it makes a difference.
That's crazy talk.
You want to fight teen pregnancy? Make sure that teens understand what is happening with their bodies and to their bodies. Make sure they have access to birth control, because they're going to fuck. They are going to. It's not about permission. Right. But, the conversations I had with my children were, when you believe that you are ready, because it's a big step. I trust you enough to know that about yourself. And I am here to make sure you also have access to birth control.
And there's too many.
You better come to one of us and talk. You better know that about yourself and your own body, that we are here with you and for you. And that's what has to be happening. If you're really against abortion, because I don't love abortions. It's not that. But, if you really want to fight them, if you really want to have fewer of them in this nation, there's plenty of steps we can take.
Right. But the proper sex education, that's a conversation they don't want to have. There's way too many teenage mothers out here who honestly didn't know that you could get pregnant just the one time.
True. It happens just the one time. And it's the same thing. It's like the hypocrisy. It's like, okay, let's talk about what we're doing with trans kids. And first of all, let's remember, in almost every case, if not every case, we're talking about fewer than a half a dozen kids. If maybe there's one, maybe there's none. Because in some of these states, there are none. It's a complete hypothetical. They're walking around with a solution to a problem that does not exist. But when we talk about it, they want to fight two things. They don't just want to say trans girls can't play in sports as they identify with their gender, but they also can't have access to puberty blockers, because they're saying that if these children go through a male puberty, then there's an unfair advantage, which is not proven, by the way, in any way, shape, or form. There are plenty of sports played in this country today that are not gendered, where everybody plays. There's mixed soccer teams. There's plenty of sports. Girls kick ass all the time.
Yep.
But when you allow the puberty blockers, then the perceived advantage of male puberty goes away. Doesn't exist. Not real. Not a thing. But they don't want to allow that either.
Right.
So what are you actually fighting for? Oh, that's right. Just to fuck with us. Just to do, like, I get it. We get it.
As long as there's an other, no one looks at them. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the game they're continuing to play. So, what was next? GOP candidate to extreme.
Yeah, I came across this
for even the Arkansas Republican Party. How is that even possible?
Yeah.
What are they extreme in? Are they centrist?
Yeah. So there's this I'm gonna call him a kid, Neil Kumar. He is a 26-year-old Arkansas Republican, and he has many ties to white supremacists, and he has suspenders and a tie fashioned with the rebel flag.
I see that.
And his whole platform, he talks about like LGBT groomers and sodomite predators, or grooming and brainwashing your vulnerable children. Like he calls public schools nothing more than psychological torture camps. We should call it the depraved LGBT agenda should be called LGBTP. The P is for pedophilia. Like, he's just
oh no, honey, you all own the pedophiles.
Off the fucking deep end.
That's a hill I will die on. I'm sorry, but yeah, it is.
But it got to the point where the Republican Party chairman in Arkansas, Janelle Fomer, she called Kumar a non-recommended candidate, adding that her party wouldn't endorse or defend the racist, bigoted, sexist, or threatening language by any candidate, which I was like, wow.
Well, come on.
Come on, Arkansas.
That's not true.
I know, but she said it on record. I'm taking it.
He's a bridge too far, apparently. Yeah. I think it's the suspenders. They're ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm looking at his picture.
Well, it's like
he had that shit made. Or I guess or somebody sells it, but I don't know.
Of course he did.
Wow.
And, you know,
you closet queen.
How much you want to bet it was another closet queen that made that shit? Because that shit is custom.
Yeah, because that does look like the kind of custom shit. Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right.
Like, ooh, girl, I got you. I mean, yup.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And oh. Yeah, that's. I mean, I'm looking at him in profile, but I think that's gay face. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, hell yeah!
Yeah.
The squeaky wheel wants to get bent over and greased. Yeah. That's how that saying goes.
Yeah. The spread collar is not all you want to spread, girl.
Yeah.
26 years old, and this is. Oh, honey. Oh, so sorry about whatever happened to you.
You know.
Moving on.
And then I was reading about this other wackadoo.
Oklahoma?
Yes.
Huh.
This Oklahoma Republican, he's just insane. Like his homophobia has like made him legit crazy. Besides all the regular homophobic and transphobic buzzwords that he hits all those points. He hits all the notes. The thing that jumped out to me was he said that people, specifically transgender women, who have bottom surgery are, quote, Islamicizing their bodies. And he equated gender confirmation to non-consensual genital mutilation. First of all...
I'm sorry, wait a minute. It's fully consensual.
Uh-huh. Yeah, he's just saying things.
He is just saying things. I mean, they're so...
But this motherfucker's trying to like get a job. This is not the shit you say to grown people when you're trying to get a job.
Well, to some grown people you do, because it's grown people supporting them.
I just can't.
There are grown people at Trump rallies. Some of these motherfuckers still show up at this stuff. It's like he lost,
right?
But yeah, wow,
yeah,
well, and there's another one. There's another one. That's gay face.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, honey.
He would be a bear.
Just because of the beard, I think. I think he'd be a sloppy butt. Well, We're not going to bottom shame.
No, we're not.
But there's something sloppy there. Let's just say that. Wow.
Yeah, they're out there.
And God, this is the thing that they can't wrap their heads around, the fact that we're not manipulating these children. These children are just being allowed to speak.
Right.
I grew up in a world where I was not allowed to speak. And when I tried, I was beaten. And that's the world they like. And they were some of the people beating me because, it happened at school just like it happened at home. Mm-hmm. There wasn't really a refuge. And these people like that world. Because, and the thing is, a lot of them are queer, which is what is so sick and twisted about this whole thing. And they can't accept themselves. So when they see people living their lives openly and freely and happily, it breaks them,
because they know that they can never, or they feel that they can never.
Yeah, it just breaks them. It's like, oh wait, it's like, what did we have here? 50 or 60 people, 40 of them queer, and or trans or both. And the little bit of family that I had here was like so surprised that they like hung out with all the queers, and nothing happened. There were children here. Everybody had fun. Yeah. We had a barbecue. It's not bottom surgery. It's mutilation.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah. This is crazy.
It is crazy.
It's crazy.
And you know who else is crazy?
Yeah.
Fucking David Mamet. I don't know what he's on these days. It's like some people just need to like stick to the job they have.
Didn't he used to be a good playwright?
I mean, that's the thing. His plays are still top notch. It's the person that's,
well, I mean, somebody wrote some cool books about wizards, and she's
exactly. So. But he went on Fox News, and he's and I take personal offense at this. He says teachers are inclined, particularly men, because men are predators, to pedophilia. First of all, that is a sweeping fucking statement.
It is. I mean, he's not wrong that if the pedophiles are generally straight identified men.
Correct.
Some are teachers.
Yes.
Coaches. Ministers.
Right. But
priests.
Don't say that that's a thing among male teachers.
But it's not. No.
Yeah,
no.
That's the
shit.
It
is, but it's not. It's
that's
not the overwhelming majority. Of course they're not.
I've been a teacher for going on 25 years now.
You have.
And many times I have been the only man in some of these kids' lives, the girls especially, who was not trying to get anything out of them, who was not trying to use them, who was not trying to like groom them, who was actually there for their well-being and interested in their health and mental health, and was trying to get them to see a future for themselves.
That's a fact.
Yeah. And so I take personal offense at that, and just fuck David Mamet and fuck his plays.
Yeah, I don't. Where was he trying to go with this? Like, what was his point?
And
who was he actually attacking? Like, I'm trying to understand what he was saying to begin with.
Exactly. It's like, and it just appeared to come out of nowhere.
Well, and this is the thing. So that I find interesting. You are right. We have, certainly male teachers through, my family, who also would never touch a child inappropriately or have an inappropriate conversation or thought with a child, because they are dedicated to educating children in a supportive way. Period. So, yeah, that said, where we get into trouble are usually churches or volunteer organizations like the Boy Scouts or the CYO, where these men go under the radar.
Right.
They don't actually have to pass a background check, or they have skated through.
Like, I know, like, I've always abhorred pedophiles, but even more so after I became a teacher. Because
of course.
Before I was a teacher, you would hear something happen to, say, a 9-year-old. And your immediate response is to go, oh my God, that's horrible.
Of course.
But now I know when I hear 9-year-old, I know exactly where their brain is at. I know exactly like what that child looks like. I can spot a 9-year-old and I know where they are in life. And the very idea of,
it's horrifying.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, fuck everyone that says that.
It is horrifying. And you know, the ways that they conflate what their community does with us,
right,
to perpetuate fear, it's horrifying, it's upsetting. I don't know what the end game is. I really don't. I still don't know what the end game is, because we could all do so much better if we all just respected one another. And I don't know why that's so impossible for them.
Right. Yeah, that whole like sexualizing children.
They're the ones that do that.
Because my whole thing, and I've asked this before when someone like with a piece of choreography that I did for a recital piece or something, like, and they tried to say it was about sex. I'm like, why are you thinking about sex right now? Right. I wasn't thinking about sex when I made it.
Right, exactly.
So why are you thinking about sex when you're thinking about these children? We weren't thinking about sex. This is about you, sweetheart.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Maybe you need to sit down and think about some shit.
Whew. Dan Rather wrote an interesting piece that I want to get to after the break. Let's take a pause, pay a bill.
Yes.
And we'll come back with that. And then I can talk about Russian Doll, which I'm not going to do for long because I'm just disgusted with it. We'll be right back.
Hey everybody, I'm Jess.
And I'm Ebony.
And we are
the Gruesome Twosome Movie Review.
We are about the wacky, the wonderful,
the weird,
the strange,
the unusual,
the gore,
the fucked up,
the actors, the connection,
the theatre,
the passion, the love. Pretty much everything that
comes with
represents. Yeah. But if it's on a screen, we are there. We are reviewing. We love snacks. We love people. We love love.
We just love film.
We love film.
So come join us on the couch.
If you're as crazy as film as we are, come join us and have a good time with us. See you soon, my loves.
Bye.
You were in fabulous company.
So we're talking about, welcome back. Yeah, so Delaware Valley Legacy Fund. The event yesterday was amazing. We will post some pictures. The conversation we were having that we might as well record really is about what I do with Facebook, because we have yet to promote the podcast on the Book of Face. Just because I still have a profile that's connected to my life before this work.
Yeah.
You know, and there are people in my life who are not particularly close to me, who don't make it a point to check in and see how we're doing. But they're the people who probably would feel like they're owed some sort of an explanation. And, you know, the crux of this kerfuffle is I'm tired of coming out. I'm tired of like just the whole thing. And so we've moved forward with the work and great things are happening. And there were so many great pictures, you know, that came out of the event, and that's happening more and more. And it is a grace that our queer community allows me, and I don't take it for granted. You know, I'm surrounded by some amazing trans people in Philadelphia and have been for many years now.
It's true.
And they have allowed me to sort of come to myself and sort through all the self-loathing that we all sort through.
Lord knows. To
come to fullness. And, you know, they have been nothing but loving and gracious and understanding. But we're kind of reaching that point where it's like, all right, enough. This is too complicated. So we'll figure out how that goes, and maybe we will create a Facebook page soon, you know, for me, for us, for this.
Because Martha ain't gonna get less busy.
Martha's not getting less busy. And that's it's an amazing thing, and it's a humbling thing.
And Martha ain't gonna get less popular.
Well, Martha's also not gonna get less loud.
Right.
So yeah, we're gonna figure that part out. But it's a thing that is a part of transition, and it's the thing most people don't think about. And, one of the conversations I have often is is around a name. And is it a dead name or is it a birth name? What do we call it? And, if I would have chosen a name for myself, it probably wouldn't have been Martha. But
That was me. Sorry.
that was you. And it was given in such love
Of course it was.
and appreciation, that I'm like, all right, I can kind of, and it's just sort of caught on.
And folks are starting to call you Martha in
And
the
they
real
call me
world.
Martha no matter what. Yeah. Right. Well, which happened, and so it's an interesting thing that happens in our community. I
It
mean,
tickles me when that happens.
I had a drag name and I got called that all the time too, because some folks only get to know you in drag. They know
Right.
you as that persona.
Right.
And so, I got called that all the time. I wrote a piece about this, like what's in a name and what do we do? And, my birth name was given me by my brother. He got to name me. And that's a person who hated me my whole life. I mean, he probably gave the name from an okay place, but he never felt I lived up to it. And then the other side of that is I had to grow into it and I had to make that name mean something.
Right.
And I did it through bullying and I did it through torture. I did it through a lot of trauma. And so I'm not unproud of my name.
Well, your brother gave it to you, but you earned it.
Well, right. And the people that know me by that name, you might not like me, but there's not much you can, you know what I mean? Like I've given everyone in my life a fair shake.
Right.
Always. And I've always been this. I've always been committed to love and growth and people coming together and people sorting through their differences and appreciating this very short life that we're given. And so, it's just been a little bit of a conundrum. It's a part of, and for some folks, it's like they have had a name in mind for themselves.
Right.
Forever. And, and it's like, and even speak of them like the duality sort of, and they use both names, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't do that. Like, I don't see a duality within myself. This is me.
Right.
This is just me.
This is me.
Yeah, I love that song. It's my 15-minute fave. It's been my 15-minute fave for a long time. But yeah, so we were talking about it at the break, and I said let's just come on and have that conversation live. There was an article. We're gonna post a link to it. Dan Rather has really in his later years gotten fiercely progressive and fiercely outspoken.
Yeah, yes.
And Dan Rather and Elliot Kirshner wrote a piece on April 24th. We will provide the link. I'm not going to belabor it, but it's really good. He talks about the laws. He calls it all bullying, which it is.
Yeah.
Which it is. And I've written similar, and he talks about how bullies can't take a punch. They hope that they can be so fearsome that no one tests whether the only thing there is to fear is fear itself. And we must be clear, few emerge from a fight unscathed. Bullies can cause a lot of damage even when they are defeated, but the lesson is that they can be beaten. We are witnessing this dynamic in the war in Ukraine. Vladimir Putin is the epitome of a bully, and he came to believe the mythologies he told himself. Mm-hmm. Having bombed Chechnya and Syria into submission, he felt he could amass an awesome display of military strength and Ukraine would cower in fear. He believed that NATO would appease him once more. He figured he was so tough that he would win by everyone else just letting him. Obviously, he misjudged on an epic scale. And, but it does take people not being weary, because it's so easy to be weary
and numb.
And I admit to that.
Yeah.
I admit to that. Like, I get, we're only about 10 episodes into this podcast. It is wearying to keep talking about it, to keep talking about the next affront, because each week there's more than one.
Yeah.
There's more than one atrocity to talk about. And, you know, in the volunteer work that I do with the trans community here, you know, we talk about these things because it's real. It's unsettling.
Right.
You know, we do this to ourselves as a community. We go through everything that y'all put us through. Am I real? Do I not understand my own gender? Do I not understand myself? But I've always known myself. And it's this kind of, it's a conversation that generally takes therapy, takes a lot of time, and often ends in suicide. And it's the oppression of the society coming at us. It's not what's coming from us. It's never really what's coming from us.
Right.
But it's, you know, what do I have to lose? What do I have to give up to be myself? And who I am, you know, the biggest part, you know, when we talk about our pronouns, because we do talk about it, at least in Trans Way, separate conversation about why that should never be mandatory, because we never want to out people or make them lie.
Right.
But, you know, when we volunteer them, I always say she and they. And, you know, for this podcast, I list myself as trans femme. Am I a trans woman? Yes. Am I completely binary? I'm not actually sure. I don't know. I'm this.
Right.
I don't say I was born in the wrong body. I say I was born in this body, but other people gendered it differently than I do. Gendered me very differently than I always have. That's the discussion. That it doesn't really matter what's between my legs. It matters what's in my head and in my heart and the way that I approach things. And, you know, the understanding we have had during the 56 years that I've been alive has labeled that as much more feminine than masculine.
Right.
So, you know, I'm using the language available to me, as is everyone else.
Right.
Is it an absolute binary for me? Not sure about that. Not sure about that, because I'm actually really comfortable now, here, us, together.
Yes.
But my presentation is decidedly femme. Decidedly so. Because that feels much better to me. Feels much better.
I hear you.
It just fits better.
I mean, because I've been thinking about this in terms of myself for a while. Like, I am a cisgender male.
Mm-hmm.
But I frequently haven't really related to all the things that are involved with quote unquote being a man.
Right.
You know, like, I just don't identify with that. But I wouldn't say that I am anything other than a cisgendered male. I guess that makes me non-binary, but I don't even, like, I don't know.
In a way.
Yeah.
In a way. Sure.
Like, I acknowledge the feminine qualities that I possess and frequently revel in them.
Well, and I mean, it's one of the things that led to the title of this being Full Circle. And it was our lovely baby Shane who said, you've both been so individually and decidedly queer. You somehow came all the way back around to being like a heterosexual couple. And it's like, I mean, yes, broadly, I guess, sort of in a way.
Right.
Sort of. But yeah, but there's space. And that's really kind of what I think we come to is we live in a world, we create a world around us and with our friends and where there is room to be you.
Right.
There's room to be really queer. There's room to be really Nelly. There's room to be really butch. There's room to be whatever it is that is part of your humanity that makes you happy to be alive,
right,
or want to be alive.
And there's really no wrong answer.
And comfortable. But that's the thing. What we're fighting is all these ideas of a wrong answer.
Right.
Just like, you know, even within the trans community, there's the discussion of who is really trans. There's a hierarchy among some,
right,
that says you're not really a trans woman unless you fully medically transition. Oh, fuck you. You know, that's
right,
not true. there are plenty of trans women in the world who live and die and never have a surgery.
Right.
Some of them have never even had hormones because they just didn't have access. But it doesn't mean they didn't understand themselves.
Right.
Just like there have been many queer people who, had these terms been more available to us in the 1940s and 50s and 60s and 70s, had these terms been more available, folks would have differently probably defined themselves.
I'm sure.
But we've seen it, within the queer community, the boxes folks want to put you in. I mean, you've experienced it your whole life because you dared to say, well, I'm not really gay, I'm bi.
Right. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And they're like, well, you're just in denial.
Right. No, I'm not.
Yeah.
I told you.
Right. But it's just being able to. So, it's all of us having this need to compartmentalize and define one another. And so I'm like, what is the worst thing you can call me? Call me that.
Right.
Because and I don't view it as worse, but I'm like, okay, I'm gay. I mean, I told that to my kids. I'm like, listen, I actually did love your mother and we had an active sex life. And I actually loved your stepmother and we had an active sex life and we'd probably still be together. They left me. They did.
Right.
I wasn't blowing up their life. I wasn't. It took a long time to say, first of all, I've denied the fullness of me by saying, by only being in those heterosexual relationships with women that did fit me. But, calling myself a gay male didn't fit either.
Right.
Not exactly. But that's why I said, if that's what you need to call me for you to be it doesn't actually matter what you call me. You can't harm me with a pronoun. You can't harm me with whatever definition you find most definitive, because it still doesn't properly articulate what it is to be in here.
Right.
It doesn't. You don't define me, period. We don't define one another, period.
Yeah.
I don't know too many lesbians or too many gay men, probably more so with men than women, but who don't also sometimes have sex with people they're not supposed to have sex with.
Right. Quote unquote. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I know plenty of queer people who have had sex outside of their label. And, I probably know a few more lesbians who like some dick once in a while. They just do.
I'll never forget in college.
Okay.
In the gay group
Okay.
on campus, there was this
more
girl,
often with gay men, more often with bi men who also like, you know what I mean?
There was this one girl. She was like a hardcore, like, I'm a dyke, I'm a lesbian, I'm a dyke lesbian. Fist in the air, like that was her. That was her milieu, as it were. And there was this dude, Dave, the straight dude, who like he came in as a friend of somebody else, and like he just struck up a friendship with a bunch of us, and he was like our pet straight guy.
Yep.
And
Everyone should have one.
I agree. And he and the lesbian like hit it off, and next thing you know, they're a couple.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, sweetie, 5 seconds ago.
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, I don't like men, but I like him. And
Well,
I'm like,
and that's fair.
And then one day he came in with a t-shirt that said, I'm not gay, but my girlfriend is. I was like, holy shit, it works. That works.
Right. Right. And that happens. And that's, if we're doing anything with all of this in the LGBTQIA plus community,
Right.
It is saying there's room for you. There's room for how you experience the world and people. And we haven't done a good job of celebrating one another when we insist on the binaries of gender or orientation.
Right.
We've left a lot of people out. We've left a lot of people confused. We've hurt a lot of people, and we've watched way too many people die at their own hand.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't fit those rigid rules. And I mean, we have so many examples in our own life. I mean, we had a bar that was just a small neighborhood bar. It was we never labeled it as a queer space, but everyone else did.
Right.
And there were plenty of queer people there. But there were also all those straight people that also found themselves comfortable.
Worst gay bar ever.
And alive. And how many of those men came out to us? How many? I can't even count them.
We were the straight boy whisperers.
Yeah, where they would be like, well, listen. So here's what just don't tell anyone. And I'm like, oh, honey, it's not my story to tell.
Right.
And welcome. Like, what do you want me to say other than welcome?
Right.
Like, because sometimes I felt like they thought my reaction wasn't strong enough. And it's like, I know this is a big revelation for you, and I thank you for the gift, and I won't betray it.
But to me, it's Thursday.
But sweetie, you ain't the first one today.
Right.
Like, and we're not even that crowded.
Right.
Like,
that part.
right. It's, so if anything, I guess like does attract like. Or whatever, but it's just when people have the space to be themselves and to open that up and articulate it, the world is a more beautiful place, a more expansive, more interesting place. And it doesn't hurt anyone.
Right.
No one is hurt. If we, if the game we're playing as adults is all adults, then it's all good.
Right.
Consent is a wonderful, beautiful imperative.
Right.
But assuming mutual, enthusiastic consent, have at it.
Yeah.
Those are the things we're trying to challenge. I mean, we still have, young men who fall in love with beautiful young trans women and kill them because they don't know how to have this conversation with themselves or their buddies.
Right.
We got to stop that. Like, we got to figure out how to say, it's really all okay. You're okay. It doesn't make you a thing. And why do we think that thing is less anyway? And, like, it took me a long time to be called a faggot and go, and?
Right.
And? Call me a faggot, call me a tranny, call me whatever word you think. Call me a girl, call me a woman. Refuse to call me a woman when I say, yeah, you're right. Like, whatever it is that you need to do, that's still shit you're carrying around inside of you. So, for me, the trans experience is really being able to have an articulate conversation with myself in the face of all this nonsense and call it nonsense.
Yeah.
And stand apart from it. And let's have a conversation about our humanity together. Let's try to share space and ideas. We can argue the ideas. We can talk about our opinions. But if we can approach this life with mutual respect and consent, we're all going to have a better time. And I did. I had an amazing weekend. I'm in part like at capacity because there were so many things and so many people and so much positive energy all packed into one weekend. And I stand back and say, wow, our life is this good. It's this good. Like it really is on the regular. It was, the 5 years we struggled owning that bar. But our life was good, and the people that came through and to us, and the artists we celebrated, and the amazing folks that came together. It's been really good.
Folks that we still know that we wouldn't have known.
Right. That are still part of our lives, and love us and who we love.
Including the Jingleberries who do our music and theme songs.
Including those beautiful boys. Both of them are
shout out.
Gorgeous boys.
Nat and Clint. Hey.
But yeah, and that's and that is what I know of this younger generation. It's much more it being, collectively this generation, this under 35 generation is so much more welcoming and loving and affirming toward one another, so much less apt to label, and so much more inclined to say, welcome.
Right.
And when someone says, this is who I am, they go, yeah, cool.
Right.
That's cool. And we have certainly seen it within the queer community. It's just the rest of the straight community that sometimes I think they're just afraid to approach us and ask questions. And that's why I'm like, you can always ask me a respectful question.
Right.
I will answer you. Baby, I will take your hand. We can move it along. You know, I'm willing to have those conversations with you as long as you're not being stupid.
Right.
That if you're being stupid, expect me to be a wise ass. Expect it. And I'm really good at it. Because I've survived as this for 56 years. So yeah,
Shade didn't come from nowhere.
No, yeah, I am a motherfucking forest. But not if we're having a respectful conversation.
Right.
I have no inclination to do that.
Right.
And it's just like sometimes, you know, I will go for the punchline when we're talking about the South, but by the same token, it is part of our nation. It is beautiful country. There are so many wonderful, wonderful people who aren't ascribing to some political bullshit, and they're just trying to live their lives there in a gorgeous place to live.
Right.
And I do feel for them. I may not join them there.
Right.
Right now.
Right.
Like I'm not headed to Florida. I have dear ones in Florida. I may not be there for a little while because I'm just. Am I safe? Am I safe? I don't know. I feel like, you know, I like to believe I am. I like to believe Miami is still Miami, but you know, I don't know. Right now.
You know, all my family's from the South.
Yeah, yeah. And
North Carolina and Louisiana, respectively, and yeah. Not in a rush.
It's tough, but you know, and it's not that we don't love them, and
of course not.
You know, or our friends, and it's not that even within the queer community we have to agree with each other. We don't all have to agree, but we do need to recognize when we adapt the narratives of our oppressors, when we start to echo what they say,
Right.
Because we sit there and go, well, you know, I don't like most of what they say, but they kind of had a point there. Stop doing that.
Right.
Stop doing that. I mean, stop doing that. And I say that just to say, okay, we might get back around to that place, but that's not where we are right now. And before you agree with people who hate you and are legislating against you, it's better to say nothing.
Yep.
Than it is to give an inch right now.
That's the part so many people have the problem with, saying nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote a piece about Leah Thomas, and I said, if you want to sit with me and argue that we don't know enough about trans physiology, you're fucking right we don't, because we don't fund any kind of study. We don't know enough about our bodies. We don't know enough about, you know, our hormone therapies at all. We don't know enough because nobody's spending money to know enough.
Right.
Not right now. So, you know, we adapt medications, we adapt theories, we adapt the studies that exist. Sometimes we're too conservative in treatment because we don't know.
Right.
We don't know. So, yeah, I'm with you that we should understand more. But the bigger thing we need to understand is these fights largely have no basis in reality.
Yeah.
None. Once again, we will not solve all the problems in the world, but we are going to continue to come to you weekly and have difficult conversations. And I guess that was the other thing that has happened over the last 2 weeks. I had some really difficult conversations with folks, and they were centered around, in particular, transness and race. And we need to keep having those hard conversations with love in the trans community.
Right.
You know, a dear one said, I'm Black before I'm trans. And in the context of that conversation, I said that's an interesting way to say it, because most of the young Black trans folks we interact with who find themselves homeless were clearly trans before they were Black. They didn't get thrown from their homes for being Black. They got thrown from their homes for being trans.
Right.
They were given complete insecurity in this world because they were queer or because they were trans. Right. And in this conversation, we were talking about, you know, kids who are trans. So, yeah, which thing that people judge you by, which thing that you experience prejudice because of comes first. I don't know. It really depends on who you're talking about. Sometimes if it's your grandmother, it's because you're queer, or because your mother, your father, your sister, your cousin, your aunt, especially if they're religious folks. Yeah, they're putting that shit first. They're putting either gender identity or orientation ahead of all the other things that we need to deal with in terms of being marginalized.
Yeah.
So, I don't deny any of it, and I certainly don't speak for anyone's lived experience but my own. But we all need to have a better conversation. So it's been an exhausting week that way. But we're gonna keep being here and having conversations because, I know that I do speak for both of us when I say neither one of us is trying to be right. We're trying to get it right.
Exactly.
Brene Brown recently said that. I love her, and I agree with her. I'm just going to keep being here for conversation. If I say something that doesn't make sense to you, please call it out. Of course. Let's talk some more.
Ask fullcirclepod@gmail.com.
There we go. And we can talk that way. Just to give you a moment of pop culture, I just want to say season 2 of Russian Doll, what the fuck was that? I still don't know. It went in so many directions at once. I couldn't land on a thing.
They tried.
I tried hard. It felt like it tried to be really, really deep, and it lost me entirely.
I love everyone involved.
Yeah,
the first season was so good.
The first season really was good, and it was fun. It was fun trying to follow along. It really was. It was interesting. It was something new. The second season I found tedious as fuck, and my life is too difficult to be entertained by that. And I watched all the way to the end, just hoping for something that I could. There was no redemption.
That was me.
There was no redemption.
The ending's going to make it worth it. The ending's going to buy it back.
It did not.
No.
It did not. No. It's like, you're fucking the wrong person and you keep doing it. And all you wind up with at the end is sore and full of regret.
And sticky.
That.
Sore, sticky, and full of regret.
I knew this was probably a gamble like one episode in, but by the time we got to the last one, I was just, I took myself to the shower.
You did?
I did. I had to. I did. Literally, I did. Yeah, I was like, I need a shower. I need a shower. I need to do something productive because I just lost all of those hours that I will never get back.
I think I'm pretty smart, and I spent a lot of time going, huh?
I can say,
what?
If you were thinking about watching it and you're asking me, don't.
Right.
And I don't care if there's a season 3. I will not watch it. I will not watch it.
And if you watch it and you love it, first of all, you are more than allowed. But second of all, I want you to tell me why.
Please tell me why. I want somebody to tell me why. If you did like it, because we then went on to read some reviews.
I want timestamps.
We're generally smart people who were raised by a fucking television, so it's not. We are not. How to say? We've sat through performance art. We are consumers of art and media in ways I hope most people aren't. I mean, like, I wish I wanted to jog, but I'm more likely to watch television or binge something like this. And I did. And I'm so sorry I did. I washed it off. I was like, I have nothing good to say. I just don't. I have nothing good to say. I appreciate the people involved. I think that they tried too hard to be clever or something. But, the angst, the Natasha Lyonne has that thing, or Leone?
I've been saying Leon.
I like her a lot. She has that sort of self-effacing, smart-ass, wizened, self-effacing but self-aware thing that I loved in Orange is the New Black, and I appreciated in season 1, and I came to despise in season 2. I was like,
my God.
we're not going anywhere.
I was getting so tired of that whole,
I'm not here.
what do you, just wait.
I'm not here with her anymore, and I hate that. Like I hate.
just,
That's why I took a shower, because I want to be. I want to be. Yeah. And if
you don't complete a fucking sentence,
and I'm trying hard to quit smoking, and Jesus Christ,
they smoked a lot in that show.
That she never didn't have a cigarette in her hand. For
I was
all
thinking
of
about
season
you while we
2.
were watching that.
Oh my God! Between her and Elizabeth Ashley, I'm just like, this is not easy.
I was thinking about you
This
while we
is
were
not
watching
easy.
that.
I just want to say,
smoking a lot.
Yeah. That was It just the whole thing. The whole thing. I was like, I want to love this, but whatever it was supposed to be, it was not. Now, that said, moving on, what the 100-foot journey?
100-foot journey.
The 100-foot journey. What did we find that on? Do you remember? Was that Netflix?
I think that was Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime, maybe. What a delightful movie.
That
Start to
was
finish.
a
Loved it.
really adorable
Loved
film.
Yeah. Loved it. First thing I've loved and adored since Coda,
Right.
which I still think you should watch on Apple TV. I love Coda. I can watch it again right now.
Yeah, I know.
But
We're
the
not doing
100-foot
that.
journey was a beautiful story.
Yes. It's about an Indian family that had to flee India, and they moved to France.
They wound up in France.
Directly across the street from a Michelin star French restaurant. And they knew that they were a Michelin star having restaurant. And so it was like the competition between the two restaurants, and there's like a little bit of classism there, but it's an adorable film. The journey that the characters go on, there's a little bit of a romance, there's a little bit of a, yay for you moment, people come to terms. It's a lovely film.
And
It's got Martha written all over it.
It does. I love the way it's centered around food and the way food informs our lives and informs our traditions.
Now I want Indian food.
And can bring us together. We'll get there. But I loved that. There was so much about it that I just really enjoyed. Start to finish. What a great film.
Yeah.
The 100-foot journey.
Right, because that's how far apart the two restaurants
The two
are.
restaurants where they were right across the street from one another. And it was really, really just compelling and sweet and interesting. And I loved the way we talked about food.
Yeah.
And we talked about our traditions, and we talked about our prejudices and what we think and what we believe, and in terms of food and in terms of tradition. And it was good. It was really good. It left me satisfied.
Right.
Not needing a shower.
Right.
So.
And that's a good thing when you're watching a movie.
Yeah, I just wanted to go eat. I think I cooked something after we watched that. I think I did. I don't remember what, but I think I did.
I bet you it was good.
I'll bet it was. You eat well.
I feel safe in saying that it was good.
Right.
Whatever it was.
Right. Yeah, the Martha part of my name is Martha Stewart.
That's right.
And she isn't even my favorite cook, but it's cute.
Right.
So I'll take it.
Yes.
I want to cook with her someday.
That would be
So I'm just going to be really friendly. Yeah, because then maybe we'll also meet Snoop Dogg, because she and Snoop have a lot in common with you and me.
Okay.
I want to thank you all for joining us for this episode of Full Circle, the podcast. I was going to get there, all right? I was going to get there. I am Martha Madrigal.
And I am Charles Tyson Jr.
Thank you so much. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everyone. Full Circle is a Never Skirt Productions podcast, hosted by Charles Tyson Jr. and Martha Madrigal. Produced and edited by Never Skirt. Executive produced by Charles Tyson Jr. and Martha Madrigal. Our theme and music is by the Jingleberries.